Mūsų karta pirmoji, supratusi, kaip iš lėto kenkiame gamtai. Ir vienintelė, žinanti, kad dar yra laiko ją išsaugoti. Apsaugokime mūsų visų ateitį. Ergo.
The laws of physics, the laws of life. Laws connect everything. We think that to be legal advisors, we must live under the same philosophy, adapting to connect and connecting to adapt.
Nepraleiskite laiko veltui. Nauji kino festivaliuose kritikus ir žiūrovus sužavėję filmai. Elito kinas. Ketvirtadienio vakarais per LRT+.
Kad būtum, reikia kito. Kino Pavasaris. Kovo 24, balandžio 3 dienomis visoje Lietuvoje. Didysis partneris Ergo draudimo grupė. Informaciniai partneriai LRT 15 min žmonės.
Sveiki, mėly Kino Pavasario žiūrovai. Sveikinusi su jumis jau įpusėjus Kino Pavasariui, kuris šiemet vyksta kino teatruose. Tačiau kai kurie svečiai vis dar prisijungia virtualiaisiais tiltais. Ir šiandien man yra nepaprastai didelė garbė pristatyti visai neseniai Berlyno kino festivalyje auksinį lokį atsiėmusią Carla Simon, filmo ALKARASAS režisierę. Hello, Carla. Welcome to Vilnius.
Hello. Thank you so much.
It's a great pleasure to have you here tonight. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
There's a screening that just ended in the cinema, and I believe that after a couple of my questions, there will be some following up from the audience. But I would like to start from the very basics. Probably you get this question every time that you do the Q&A or interview. But I know that there is some level of, some biographical level of the film, in the film, and I would really love you to just to let us in the story of how did it all started, ALKARAS.
Yes. Well, it all started because my two uncles, they grow peaches in ALKARAS. So I was not born there and raised. I was raised in another village, but it's a place that I've always gone with for holidays and for Christmas and summer. And when I was writing my first film, my grandfather died. And it was the first moment that I thought that maybe these trees that he had planted wouldn't be there forever. So that it was interesting to make a film about some world that was ending. And also talking to the farmers now, like my uncles still cultivate, but I can see that many people are leaving the land because it's not longer sustainable to work the land in family groups and in small groups. So I decided that it was interesting to talk about this way of life that it's so old because we do it since prehistorical times, but it's not the model that's working now.
And this is a second feature where you invite us to actually not only to follow the story of the main characters, but also to be with them. And like what was striking, at least for me personally, the most in the film is this tactility of the whole material of the film. Like you really, the experience of watching it, this really feels like you can almost smell the smell of the fields of the peaches, and then you can feel the heat of that summer days of the harvesting. How do you actually manage to recreate it in the film, like this world that in a way like gets you in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, well, there are many things that we worked on to go to this direction, that to make the audience feel that they are one member of this family just living there, like trying to have a camera that it's almost like our eyes living with them. But I think that there is something very important, which are the actors, and the fact that we work, they are non-professional actors, all of them. So we worked on a way that we created their intimacy, and we tried to build a family and make them feel like real relationships between them. And I think that this was very important to feel this when you watch the film, no, and to feel that that whatever it's happening for real, because they kind of developed a relationship in real life that it's almost like a family relationship. They still call each other dad, mom, grandpa, and these things, no.
You know, this year Kino Pavasaris Vilnius Film Festival main theme is called in order to exist, you have to coexist. And coexist not only among people, but also among like wider surroundings, which can be either ecological or sociological or even like political, and so on. So this other, which in your film is the land, and the importance of it, and the tragedy when there is a risk that it can be taken. I wonder if, like, because, you know, we watch the film, you know, like city dwellers, we live in Vilnius, but we still connect with it, like, very, very intensively with the tragedy of it. What it is for you, actually, like this fading traditions and the risk that people will not be able to actually live their the life that they've been practicing for centuries.
I mean, yeah, this is something that for me, you know, at the beginning when we started writing this project, we had a happy ending because my uncles still cultivate the land. I thought we have to have some light and some people can resist. But the more that we investigated on this area, the more that we realized that there is no hope really on this way of making agriculture, which is really sad, because when you have to leave the land to your children and your grandchildren, you take care of it in a way that it's not the same way that like a big company works the land and they just exploit it, no? So this is complicated, and it's true that there is something that we are in a moment where we are thinking about environment, which is something quite new, unfortunately. And I think that there is some kind of hope somehow in terms of doing biological agriculture, which can be made by also small hands. It's small handcraft. You have to take care in a way that it's difficult to take care of the land if you do biological agriculture when it's too big, no? And so I think that in this sense maybe there is some hope, but it's hard. And for me, because I'm an optimistic person, it was okay to give this hopeless message about agriculture, but it was very important to give some hope on the role of the family, which I feel, or at least in my case, is a place where you can be yourself and go back, and it's some, like, you always have your family, no? Or at least we're Spanish, so family is so important, and it's not like that. But what I wanted to say a little bit with the film is that even if they are going to lose the land, they have each other, and even if they are going to follow different paths, which is hard to take when you have only made one thing in your life, you have each other, and this is what they learn at the end, no? So in this sense of living in community, I think that family, to me, plays a very, very important role.
Maybe there are already questions in the audience that would like... Yeah?
It's not Do you hear me? It's not your first film, and you kind of want to not raise, but put the spotlight on Catalan culture and the language. Can you tell more why it's so important to you for all the world to know about the culture? And yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes, well, this is a question that we get very often here in Spain because, there is this issue between Spanish and Catalan and all this. And what I always answer is that for me it's very natural to make this film in Catalan and to show this culture because it's mine. And in this area specifically, they speak a very specific way of Catalan, which is not even the one that I speak. So it was very, very important to portray that because the film is a portrait. So as a portrait, I think that it needs to show the reality of this place, no? And what we are realizing is that it's that we have sometimes this kind of rivalry between Spain and Catalonia, which for me it's nonsense. But in any case, what we realize is that the farmers from other parts of Spain really are feeling the same than the farmers in Catalonia, because at the end they are cultivating the land in a similar way, no? So yeah, and then there is something about that I appreciate a lot about culture in general, like in any place, no, that I like to portray in films, because it's something that goes from one generation to the other, like the songs or even the traditions or the festivities, no, that they go from one generation to the other, but they keep changing a tiny bit, no. So I think that it's always beautiful when you can leave it there in a film. So I love when I watch films about traditions that you can see how they evolved from then to now, no? Mm.
Are there more questions? Then, if not, then I have what I found really interesting and in a way, I thought that this is such an original choice and in a way maybe a little bit risky choice to make a threat like something that we like in a way we see it as a future, for like maybe the solution for the ecological crisis in the world and so on and so on. So the solar panels, of course, not directly, but through the like all the chain of events become something that is replacing decades old trees and so on and so on. So in a way, like they become aggressors. And I found it such an interesting and thought-provoking choice that you decided to make. I don't know if there was like something behind it that you would like to share.
Yeah, well, totally. I mean, to me, it's like conflicts are more interesting when you are not sure where you would be, and I think that for me it was important that this like bad guy cowboy that is the owner of the land is making a choice that you can judge as something that it's okay, and that we need. And it's always controversial anything about energy, and even if they are I don't know how you say it in English, but ecological energy, it's always complicated, but still it's a good thing and we need that. So I think that it's good to also understand this guy who suddenly inherited like a ward contract from the Civil War, which is like a long, long time ago. And he's saying, maybe it's enough, I want to do that. This is, so you can also understand him. And even if we go with the family, they have to leave the land for a reason that we also can understand. And I think that this puts us as an audience in a place that it makes you realize that life is complicated and it's always about choices, no? And the truth is that the idea didn't come up like it ended up being in the film. It came up because a long time ago, in Spain, not so long, maybe like 10 years ago, there was a law that gave a lot of money to the farmers to put solar panels. So they started putting solar panels, and then the law changed, and a lot of them lost a lot of money and even their land because they were promised that they would be paid something, and then at the end it was something else. But this time already is gone, and some of them had to even leave their land. And right now they are starting to put solar panels again, because we obviously have to do something about ecological energy. So it's something that it's really in everyday's conversation in this area. And to me this is interesting, because the reason why people are leaving the land, it can be this, but it can be something else. But the truth is that a lot of people are making the land, leaving the land, and less people are planting trees. So we'll see what happens in this sense.
And also, when you bring it out from the inner family, when you expand it to the whole community of the village, of the surroundings, of the close-up farms, and then when we see the protests in front of the municipality, or like maybe I'm remembering it wrong, it gives a wider probably picture of, and it becomes way more universal, not so local. But then the scenes in the protest, they are actually like really impressively made. Even like if the previous scenes were rather like low-key, very cozy, family farm scenes, like the one with the people around, it feels like it was like in a way very different from the film. Was it staged at all, or you just used some sort of happening that was already in the reality going on?
It was staged because we shot the film during the pandemic, so we couldn't. Like, my idea for all these village scenes and also the demonstration was to just go to the market or to the festivities or to a demonstration and shoot it there with the actors for real. But because of all of the masks and the COVID, we couldn't do it like that. So we had to stage everything. But in this case, all the people who came are farmers. So we are farmers that we had seen in the casting. And they are angry for real. And they have been going to every demonstrations that they have. So they are very used to it. And even like we were saying that it was okay, that the first time that we're going to do a demonstration without the fear of being arrested. So they even wanted to, like keep going. And they told me after the shooting, let's just, cut the road and continue the demonstrations, because for them it's something that they have to do very often. So it was really, really close to reality somehow, no? Yes, but for me it was important to put this scene because somehow it's a way to. I didn't even know how important it would become until we edit it. But for me, when you want to talk about politics, it's better to do it from an intimate point of view. No, so I work in a very small scale in terms of the relationships of the characters and the gestures and and little details. But then when you want to say something bigger, just with one scene, I think that the film can grow, no, and tell that this is not only this family.
It definitely grows. And you already touched the topic of the authenticity in the actors that you choose, which are non-professional actors. And this is already a second film where you, I think, use it to the fullest. There's like no other pleasure than to watch them on the screen. And I think that this is all credits to you, probably, because it's not so easy to work with the non-professional actors. What is behind this choice of strictly sticking with the real people rather than the art of acting? And what are your methods to actually to bring this authenticity to the screen?
Well, the reason why we decided to make it with non-professional actors was that they are a lot of them are children and teenagers, so they were going to be non-professionals. And then the other half are farmers. And for me, you can see when someone is a farmer on their skin, their hands, the way that they go on a tractor and the way they pick a peach, no? And for me, it was interesting to have people who really feel for real this attachment to the land. And this is everyone in this area. So basically, and also, as I said before, they speak a very specific dialect of Catalan. And I wanted to this is something that probably we only notice, but I think that it's a beautiful also way to be faithful to this portrait. So basically, we did a very, very long casting. And because this film was supposed to be shot in 2020 and we had to postpone for a year because of the COVID, we had started the casting before, so 1 year before. So we, in 2019, we went to all the village festivities and we saw a lot of people without masks and together, no? And we could watch and say, okay, so this, we invite them to the casting, no? So we saw about 9,000 people. It was crazy because nobody has ever shot there. So everyone was very happy to come to the casting and give it a try. So we auditioned a lot of people and at the end we chose these ones. I was hoping to find like a father and a son or something like that, but it didn't happen. So then we had to create a family, no, and work together. So I rented a house close to their villages, and they would come every day in the house, every afternoon or in the weekend, in different combinations of relationships. Like one day the grandfather and Mariona, the granddaughter, another day the couple, another day the siblings, another day father and son, no? So we would like kind of improvise moments that would make sense for the relationship of the film. So little by little we created this family, and after 3 months we had this big lunch together, like the snail celebration, and they were already a family, no? So they felt it like that. And then we read the script, and then we rehearsed the scenes of the film, no? But we spent a lot of time together, just being for them to be able to feel these relationships. No?
Please raise up if you have a question, because if not, then I still have a couple. And what I wanted to ask now, actually, I forgot the one that was raising from. Actually, now I remembered from what you were saying regarding the rehearsals and so on. I could not believe while watching the film actually that this is something like the dialogues that could be scripted, because it felt like so incredibly real and so incredibly. I mean, just I cannot imagine it written on the paper and learned by heart and said in front of the camera. For me, it just feels like a pure life, and in a way, it's incredible when you're saying that you've been rehearsing and so on and so on. Tell a little bit more about like how you were writing and sticking it to the script on the set, and if there was some improvisation.
Yeah, well, it's a mixed, but because I spend a lot of time, and with this script we spent a lot of time also with the co-writer writing it, because it was so complex, and there is this idea of ensemble piece, so we go from one character to the other. So it's full of details that I want them to be in the film. So it's not that we can just shoot. We have to be very precise. So basically, it depends on the scene. But I don't make, so we read it once, the actors read it once so they know what the film is about. And then we rehearse it so they know a little bit what's going to happen in every scene. And even in some cases, they know who is going to talk first or later, no? So they can kind of respect the war order. But then the way they say it, it's their way, no? So I can write it, and sometimes I'm very precise on, you have to say this sentence. And when it's like that, usually I shout it loud and they repeat. Because it's a way that if they don't remember, because they get very used to hear my voice, don't look at me, and follow the direction, no? And this is something that we already worked a lot on my previous film. Here it was more difficult because sometimes there are 12 people. So if I wasn't very precise, like, you say that, no? Or Aunt Pepita, you have to say this, sometimes they were confused, no, with my voice. But it's good to kind of guide them through my voice so they can be precise. And then it depends on the scene, no? There are some scenes that I can give them more room for improvisation, and there are some scenes that they have to follow the script, and there are some mixing scenes, like, for example, the moment where they are eating snails. This is half-half. So we it at the beginning, then we follow the script a lot, and we recorded everything that was scripted, and then they improvise a little bit more, no? And we did this for every take. So at the end we had a lot of material, and we edited half-half, no? Somehow. So yes, it depends on that, but in general it is quite scripted. And also sometimes I change the script after knowing them, how they talk, and I remember that they said something interesting, so I put it, or I tell them, you say this, no? So yeah, it's a mix.
And another thing that is like going from your previous film to this one is actually the incredible characters of children. They are, just something, it's a miracle that happens in front of us, and that's like the biggest magic that you share with us. Where does it come from? Where comes your talent to open them up, to make them feel comfortable, and also to deliver? Correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like they just like they are as they are, but then you give, like, while shooting them and while directing them, you give like very, very, very intense and deep meaning to like what they're actually experiencing at the moment in the film.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I don't know why I have this with children, but I've always worked with children since I was a teenager, that I started in these summer schools taking care of children, and then I changed to film, and then I started directing children. So I also teach. So I always try to be, and now I'm pregnant, so I'm going to be a mom too. so everything. So yeah, it's I don't know. It's just something that I like. Sometimes I think that maybe because I had this story that is told in my previous film, and I lost my mom when I was a child, so I'm very sensitive to the children's psychology, and I like to think and understand the way they think. And then what I realized is that for me the best thing to direct them is to treat them as people, as adults, not adults because they are not, but just to treat them with respect and to understand that they are very clever, and that they are also clever to understand that this is a game, what we are doing, and they are playing, but it's also a job, and we are working. So it's important to find this kind of balance. And then for me, it's very important also to have empathy with them, no? And to understand why, as real children, they do something, or they are asking you for something, or they don't want to do something. So if you understand them, then to me it's easier to take it from there. No, and also it's very important, the casting, because we try to find children that are very similar to the characters that are written, no? So in this case with Iris, the little one, we we found a girl who is super clever, and the things need to be the way she wants, no? And I think that this was the character we had written, no? So it was very already there was something that was there that would work for the script, no? So yeah, it's a mix of things, but I have to say that sometimes I feel that it's easier to direct children, because as I look for this kind of realistic or naturalistic feeling on the script, on the screen, children give you this always, and with adults sometimes it gets more rigid, and even when you put a child into an adult's world in a set, they also become better because they forget about themselves and have to give something to the child or help him or her. So I think that to me it's always good to have children on set.
Again, I'm not sure if this is, I only read it in one of the interviews after Berlinale, that ALKARASAS is going to be the second part of the trilogy. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I would like to hear about this whole, like the trilogy, like very personal project of yours, and how is it going to be completed in the upcoming years?
Yeah, well, this is it's something that we are still not sharing a lot, but because as we had to postpone the shooting of ALKARASAS, I started writing the next project, and it's a trilogy in terms of the fact that it's inspired by my family somehow, no, and it's not in terms of what the story tells. But what I can tell about next project that it's going to be called Romería is that it will be about family memory and the memory that we don't have. So these family memories that we don't have and we don't know how to invent or get them when you don't know about your family that is not there anymore, no? Because the family memory is something that I'm always very worried about, no? So when someone died, and now, like 3 years ago, my grandma died, and she was the last of her generation in my family, and you feel that with her something goes, and you are never going to know again, no? So this lack of family memory for me is something that I want to kind of explore in this next film, also through my family stories.
Since the time is up, we really want to thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
It's not too late to say congratulations for, first of all, like incredible success of the film, and congratulations with your future family, with your future motherhood.
Yes.
It's a pity not to have you here, but the audience is going to be here when your next film is going to be out, and we wish you will be present in reality.
Thank you so much.
So thank you much for your time. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye.
Kad būtum, reikia kito. Kino Pavasaris. Kovo 24, balandžio 3 dienomis visoje Lietuvoje. Didysis partneris Ergo draudimo grupė. Informaciniai partneriai LRT 15 min žmonės.